Hey guys, it's Roscoe, and on the Space Council today I'm going to be reviewing this, Packing for Mars, The Curious Case of Science of Life in Space by Mary Roach. Now, this is a book that goes into a lot of detail, and most of it's really quite funny, but exactly what is involved in manned spaceflight. So it talks a lot about the use of animals, you know, like the dogs, like chimps, like say Ham the Astro Chimp. The use of cadavers as well as live volunteers. I mean, for instance, Ham the Astro Chimp, who was one of America's first astronauts, he's got an official burial place, but it's only his skin that's there. His body, skeleton and brains are all parcelled up between different institutions, and now they've all been lost or misplaced. And as it happens, the same is true of all the astronaut urine and stool samples from the Apollo era. Apparently somebody once stumbled across this room where it was all being stored, you know, a bit like the Room of Requirement in Harry Potter, only they could never find it again. Ridiculous. It also goes into how much effort was put into being able to go into the toilet in space. Obviously zero gravity, and what happens when it goes wrong. The early astronauts, the Apollos, they'd call their turds escapees floating about the cabin. You can imagine how much fun that was, trying to sort out. And also the same with the urine collection bags. Apparently some of those early, what were the 2-week flights, was it the Gemini missions? At the end of them, the astronauts would come out smelling like a latrine, and it must have been horrendous. Scientists, they also try to discover how you can, or rather how long you can wear your own underwear for before eating it. Yes, those crazy NASA scientists, what are they going on about? I don't know. Obviously they're also talking about how you recycle urine into water, and also what you do with the feces. Some scientists said, well, you know what, the same way that you can treat urine into water, essentially you could turn that into food. Astronauts said that we ain't eating shit burgers in space, and that was the end of it. Quite rightly as well, I think. It's just, use it as lining of your Mars spaceship to stop the radiation. Don't eat it. Yeah. It turns out in this book that space sickness is actually very common. There was a Japanese astronaut, TV reporter actually, went to the ISS for his TV company. Was sick the whole week. Sick as a dog. And you can imagine how much fun it would be, not only to be sick in 0G, but having to clean it up afterwards. And God forbid if you were sick in your helmet. I mean, it was bad enough those recent cases of the astronauts where there's water leaking in their helmet, or when Chris Hadfield's clinging to the side of the International Space Station because the solvent to clean the inside of the helmet was stinging his eyes so much. Terrible. So basically, this book is full of stories like this, and I said they're all pretty. There's some pretty sad ones as well, which I won't go into here. But other things that, and it's so much. It's not just NASA; it's some of the other European space agencies as well. But it's mostly NASA stories. It's all about how they will spend millions, if not billions, of dollars, and months and months and months, and years and years and years, testing individual little items before it can be allowed to go into space. And you know how NASA loves to do all its testing and spending all that money. It's like nothing can just go to the ISS, and that's fair enough. It has to be tested in 0G, hence that plane they got, the Vomit Comet. It goes up and down like this, you know, to get those peaks at 0G. Also, there's something else. Recently, astronauts were trying to grow food, lettuce in fact, on the space station. They grew it, but they weren't allowed to eat it, of course. It had to then go back down to NASA for testing, just in case I thought some mutant spider lettuce or something, who knows. Like I said, this book is full of things like that. Any large bureaucracy like NASA, it has its rules and it will stick to them regardless of how much sense they make or not. Other things that come to mind from this book, when they were filming people going to the toilet in 0G. Unbelievable. Especially as other astronauts have started to see these films, and they thought, oh, it's quite funny because most of the volunteers used were female. But talk about the shit literally hitting the fan if that had become public knowledge. I don't think the higher-ups of NASA would be too keen to know that the research centre is essentially taking some very sophisticated porn films Yeah. So everything has to be tested, everything has to be very carefully collected up there. Particularly, in fact, dandruff. I mean, obviously, with something like hairs and dust and all that stuff. But with dandruff, that's also collected. But astronauts, they're not allowed to use hot water to wash their hair. The reason for this is they might cook the skin flakes. Yummy. Maybe they're going to be storing those cooked skin flakes next to all the astronaut poo and dead chimp brains. I don't know. It's a good book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And lots of these little vignettes. But mostly it proves the point that NASA has pretty much lost its way. It's just too bloated to do anything. When was the last time NASA had something that came in on time and under budget? The James Webb Telescope is still ongoing. The SLS, who knows what's going to happen with that? Orion, ugh. The International Space Station itself. I mean, I think only Apollo was the only thing that came in on time, and that was just because they threw billions and billions and billions of dollars at it. Yeah. Also, it's like, you know, I was reading recently with NASA, the SLS, which, as you may know, I'm not a massive fan of. They spent 18 months testing and designing these little scale models, and they're ever so cute, and no doubt millions and millions of dollars. And I was thinking, why didn't you just 3D print it in a day like SpaceX do? But hey, they must spend all that money. They love them some sweet government contracting. Or like, you know, like they produce those really nice travel posters for exoplanets, but there's no plan on going there or even having a proper look at these planets with other telescopes. Or talk of sending, what's the current thing they're keen on? A submarine to Titan. Yeah, like that's ever going to happen. Not under NASA, it might happen with someone else. But like I said, it is a really good read, this book. If you like the how, why, what and yuck of space travel, then it's definitely for you. It also, the next time you hear that the SLS is delayed again, or the Orion launch has slipped, or the James Webb launch has slipped, you'll have a better idea and understanding of why. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this quick review of Packing for Mars, and as always,